Good evening from yammybtv. Wishing you all well today. Sending loads of love as usual. Um, I've come up with one tonight. Now, this one's a highly emotionally charged one because over the years, it's fair to say, I've seen a lot of men go to Crown Court and come back with life sentences. Now, when you get life imprisonment, when you see people's faces when they come back from court, you can imagine they're not the most happiest men to be, to be holding conversations with. Whether they're guilty, maybe they say that it's easier to take if you're guilty. But if you're not guilty, it is a bitter pill to swallow. And I've seen it on many faces along the years. And also, there's been doubts in my mind that even I've got wrong sometimes, whether you think the person that's been found guilty and been lifed off has actually done what, the courts have said. But I'm looking back over times when, we'll call this one a part one because I'm doing it off the top of my head like I do. And I'm looking back over cases, and the first one that I come up with is Junior Leopold from Hackney. And was serving life sentence for allegedly going into a jewelry shop and with a couple of others and ending up with someone behind the counter getting shot with a sawn-off shotgun, and you end up getting lifed off. Now, at the time, it doesn't look like there's going to be much chance that you're ever going to see daylight again. There looks to be like there's overwhelming evidence. The only thing was the detective in this case was a dodgy one. And it went something like this. Now, I think, if my memory recollects me pretty well, right? So I was with Junior Leopold, a big name from East London, right? Well respected, well liked, good sportsman, and a well-known figure in that life. Now, for years and years and years, I always believed that, because he never ever moaned about his sentence, he just got on with it. So I just took it that he just accepted his guilt kind of thing. But on having a conversation with him one day, he said to me, "No," he said, "Yammy, I'm in here for something that I haven't done." And I said to him, "Yeah." I said, "You take it really well. It looks like it doesn't look like he's crying very much over getting a life sentence." Anyway, so comes up out the blue, and nothing better coming out when you least expect it, where the detective involved in the case of that and many other cases, you lot might remember George Ellis and Tony Zombrelli and other armed robbers, and this particular policeman fabricated evidence. And there's been many of them along the years as well, that have put things in places and made it look like that you were involved in a crime. And there's various ways where they can plant evidence basically, and convincingly so, that it's enough for a jury to convict you. So, having watched Junior for all these years, right, it comes to the time out of the blue, he gets a letter and it says that his case is going up for appeal based on a policeman being found guilty or facing disciplinary charges of being corrupt, because there are armed robbers that were serving 14s, 15s, 12s, the names that I've just mentioned, plus many, many, many more that others might remember from the 90s, right? They'd been let out based on, the word of this officer being found not to be legitimate, so to speak. So therefore, anyone that's ever been arrested by this officer now can throw doubt onto their own cases. Because it's fair to say that if you've done it in that case and you've done it in that case and it's been proven you've done it in that case, why can't you have done that in mine as well, so to speak? Junior Leopold tells me quietly that his appeal's coming up very, very soon, and he's going, "Shh, And I'm saying to him, why are you telling me? He goes, I don't want no one to know. Because I've just got a feeling I'm going to get out. And he literally had tears in his eyes. And this is a man, a hardcore villain, them days. I don't know how he is today. But, you know, to see him crying with relief, you would have thought that he had been released already. So he must have been really, really convinced that he was going home. And so it proved. A week or so later, he went to court and was never seen again and beat his case. So I was overjoyed to hear that, and plus see the emotional enjoyment, if you like, of suffered for so many years and years and years. You're going to get some big compensation. But that hardly gives you back your years. Any man will tell you that he'd prefer to have his freedom rather than get a whole lot of money at the end of it, if he can give him his life back, especially if you're innocent as well. So I was really pleased to hear about that one in particular, because it was a man who I was really close to. Again, the Dennis brothers, one of my besties, Porky, you know, I've heard about Stefan, Biggs, Kevin Dennis, promising footballer Kevin, all of them wrapped up in a nightclub, apparent murder, where an instrument on camera appears by way of, I think, forensic examination of the way they made the camera look. They made the picture of the video looked like it was some kind of weapon. And years and years and years later, and I remember them going through that sentence and really feeling really, you know, bad and hard done by, and not really being happy that they have to spend the rest of their lives in jail, or a long, long time in jail, to ever see the streets again, probably before they're old and grey, like I said already. And new evidence comes to light that it is proven that the figure that was meant to, the weapon that was meant to be in one of their hands was not a weapon after all, and they were found not guilty. And if you would have seen the joys on their faces when they were coming back from court, and you know, back and forth, and on the day they were all being released, apart from I think Porky, who had to stay behind because he had an extra case, which he was left him feeling gutted, because I think he had a gun charge outstanding of concurrent sentence or whatever. But they were all on their knees, praying, crying, you know, the joy to witness, you know, such an event. You know, just for 1 minute, you don't have a part to play on the outside again. And now you have that chance again. And nothing pleased me more than that case in particular, because obviously Porky's my bestie. And I remember many people used to say behind the scenes, well, he's doing life now, he won't be getting out again, and that kind of stuff. You know, some people get a bit, let's face it, say, get a bit bitter and glad and hateful, that where they can say, oh, well, we ain't never getting out again anyway. He ain't gonna, at least I'm gonna get a chance to go out again, and he ain't. You know, there's a lot of that kind of hate and stuff going on, and lifers have to put up with that kind of stuff quite a lot. The other one I was really pleased about to see as well, and powerful man, Evertonian, Peter Clark, right? What a handful. Strong man. I heard his brother, he's got a brother, but there was only politics in Liverpool around about this time. And there was a lot of gang stuff going on. I don't know how it went, but I know he lost someone close to him, and I know it broke his heart. But apparently he's ex-military, Peter Clark, as well. So he wasn't the normal villain type kind of man, right? And he used to say to me every day, he says, Yam, listen, I ain't done this. They're just putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5 kind of thing. So when, you know, when people are talking about their pills, because all a lifer has in his mind to hold on to is his appeal. And once that pill goes, you know, it's like getting a life sentence all over again, because you get the life sentence, that's hard enough to take, because you know the chances of getting out are very, very limited, especially with the justice system that we have. But you hold on to a little bit of hope if it gets past the first judge on the appeal, and you know there's a little bit of glimmer that you know you might be one of the lucky ones and get back out. And so it was. The great Peter Clark, I liked him as well, Peter. A very, very decent gentleman, but not a man to be crossed as well. I put him down as one of the hardest men I ever met as well. Some of you, I might not have mentioned him before on other videos, but funny enough, I do now. Now it comes to mind. Peter Clark, so pleased to have witnessed you going and seeing the delight on your face, and you know, having watched a lot of stuff as well around him as well, because you know what it's like when you lose those close to you. It can leave lasting scars forever, and some men never get over losing brothers and sisters and cousins and mums and dads and things like that. So that was another one that I was overjoyed with. And there was one more I was going to talk about. Which one was it? I was going to get round to the old famous one, right? Like, this shows you why they had to change the British justice system. And it's an old tale, like it's a real life one from way back in the day, the 60s, where I think they stopped the hanging. I can't remember if they stopped the hanging through the Ruth Rendell case, a lady who got convicted of murder, and then DNA, or not DNA, or later on in life they found that it couldn't have possibly been her, and they hanged her for no reason. So basically, them days, think how it was getting convicted them days when the death penalty was around and it ain't you, and you got to forfeit your life for something you haven't done. And the famous one that always brings not a laugh as in like in that they got one died or one got lifed off or a policeman lost his life, but simply because while they was on the roof, they were getting chased by a policeman, and can't remember what one it was. Either the younger one had the gun or the older one had the gun, but the gun got fired, and sadly it hit a policeman and he died. But before the bullet was fired, the older one said, "Let him have it, Chris." So what do? They go to the Crown Court and they tell them, "Let him have it." Chris means, let him have it. You know, like to say, shoot him. His defense saying no. What he was saying was, hand over the gun. Don't be silly. Don't be a silly boy. No, we're not in that much trouble. Hand over the gun. No, you got hanged for it. And guess what? The wrong man got hanged because he wasn't old enough to be hanged. So the man that didn't even pull the trigger, I hope my memory's got this right, you know. The man that didn't even pull the trigger ends up being the one getting hanged. And it wasn't even him that pulled the trigger. And not only that, in his mind, he was telling the other fella to hand over the gun in a legitimate way. Famous old case. Some of you that don't know about it, there's a book, it's called Let Him Have It, Chris. But that should give you some insight into how the justice system changed from then to now. I'm thinking, was there one more that I saw with my own eyes where I was absolutely delighted? But no, I think, well, how many minutes? For 40 minutes, too long, Yammy. But yeah, I'm going to have a part 2 to this, because I've seen a few over the years, but I'm going to be up in a minute with one that I haven't talked about for quite some time. But I don't get involved in podcast wars, you know me. I just keep myself to myself. But I've been getting asked too many questions lately, and I'm debating whether to come up and ask the question myself live in front of you all. But I will be up after, sending loads of love.